The Dons enter action today just one win away from securing a spot in the championship round in Bakersfield a week from today. On the strength of dominating pitching from Orange Empire Conference Pitcher of the Year Emily Rosas, and a lineup that has constantly delivered in clutch situations at the plate. In Game 1 yesterday, with Rosas cruising in the circle, it was the Dons bats that slammed the door with a 4-run burst in the 6th inning to close out an 8-0 win. All 4 runs came with 2 outs in the inning. And for those that have followed, that has been the story, not just yesterday, but all during the postseason. The Vikings, for their part, come in today with a clear mandate. They need to sweep a doubleheader today in order to punch their ticket to Bakersfield and advance to the championship round. It's a tough assignment, but this is a Vikings team that those that follow the team know plays in a conference that just happens to have the 2 top seeds in the entire southern region in Cerritos and Mount Sac. So it's a Vikings team that has battled the best all season long, and they're going to have to do it again here today and come up with 2 wins. We're underway with Emily Rosas in the circle. First pitch in for a strike to Kirsten Sanchez. Kirsten Sanchez, the pride of San Pedro. In at the plate and fouls it away. No balls, 2 strikes on Kirsten. Rosas back in the circle predictably. She has won her last 8 starts. She will try to close out the Vikings here in Game 2 and move on to Bakersfield. It'll be Sanchez to be followed by Jaylene Ross and Jade Whitman. And Rosas picks up right where she left off as she blows the rise ball by. Sanchez gets the strikeout, 1 down. Here in the top of the first, we're just underway, the Vikings and the Dons, with a spot in the championships on the line. The Dons just 1 win away. That'll bring up Ross. Jaylene Ross, a freshman out of Whittier High School. She will stand in from the left side. Set the defense for you. A couple of changes for both teams in the lineup. First pitch in for a strike. Jaylena Perez gets the start in left field for the Dons, replacing Brianna Padilla. Alana Rangsupson in center. Alexis Rangel in right. Rosas takes a little something off. Ross takes it high for a ball. 1 ball and 1 strike. That was the first ball from Rosas, who started out with 4 consecutive strikes. Rosas not only dominating in the circle, but a tremendously fiery competitor, no doubt. She could see the finish line and wants to finish it here in Game 2. Bunted back toward the circle, and the throw is wide. It gets by Westerfield at first, and Ross is going to end up at second. This should go down as a throwing error on Rosas, who had time to get Ross, but just misfired. And we end up with a runner at second and an opportunity for the Vikings. Well, seldom would you say it in a game with an 8-0 final score, but yesterday's game very likely could have gone in a different direction very easily. If a bounce here or there had gone the way of the Vikings, they put multiple runners on in each of the first 3 innings against Rosas as Whitman fouls it back for strike 1. But could not break through and get on the board. Eventually the Dons started to chip away, scoring single runs in the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th before breaking through with 4 runs in the 6th to finally finish things off. But the Vikings will come in with a measure of confidence against Rosas, who has been so very good, as they did have success getting some runners on base despite being blanked yesterday. Rosas finished with 4 hits allowed and 5 walks in her 6 innings of work, though ultimately she kept the Vikings off the board. Here's the 1-1. Line drive, just foul. And the near misses continue for the Vikings. That would have got them on the board, and Whitman missed that by what had to be less than a foot down the left field line. Instead, it's a ball and 2 strikes on Jade Whitman. Jade Whitman out of Gar High School, a sophomore. Digs in with a 1-2 count. Rosas rocks and fires, goes to the rise ball. Yadi Ramirez just able to keep that one in the glove. It would appear in watching Emily Rosas that she has a dominating rise ball at any time, but occasionally can reach back and even put a little bit more on it when she needs to. Foul back to the screen. Good at bat for Whitman, who will see her 6th pitch. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Ross at second. We're just underway in the top of the first. Roped, but to third, and it's caught. The throw back, and Ross able to get back in time. Whitman hit it hard, but Nia Veals, who gets the start at third base, comes up with it. Nearly had the double play, but Ross able to get back and keep the inning alive. 2 down, a runner in scoring position for the Vikings with Ileana Rivera coming to the plate. Let's complete the defense with Nia Veals at third, Erlyn Ramirez at short, Alexis Vargas moves to second with JoJo Westerfield at first. Vinny Robles, who left the game with an injury yesterday, not in the lineup today. We'll see if Vinny Robles is available should there be a Game 3, or one would hope that she can make it back if the Dons can get through today and get to the championships next round. In on the hands to bounce her into shallow center. Rivera gonna be safe. The Vikings have broken through. They have a run on the board against Rosas as they grab the 1-0 lead. This was cued out over the circle and got into center field. Rivera able to reach first with the base hit. Ross comes around to score. So the Vikings are on the board here in the top of the first. Gladys Garcia will be the batter. Rosas starts her out with a rise ball and misses high. 1 ball and no strikes on Gladys Garcia, a sophomore out of Banning High School. She has struggled against Rosas so far this season. Good fastball. And the count even up at a ball and a strike on Gladys Garcia. She's the designated player today. Lifted to right, down the line, twisting foul. A ball and 2 strikes on Garcia. Rosas has now worked 19 innings in the postseason, and that is just the 3rd run that she's allowed at all. She allowed a couple of runs in the Game 1 win over Antelope Valley, 8-2, before throwing back-to-back shutouts, closing out the Marauders in Game 2, and then the shutout yesterday, and the win in Game 1 over Long Beach. Low for a ball, count evened up, 2 balls and 2 strikes at Gladys Garcia. That should go down as an unearned run in the first, but the Vikings will certainly take it. And again, it mirrors much of yesterday for the Vikings, who were able to generate chances, but give Rosas a ton of credit. She came up with big pitches when she needed to. She was outstanding with runners on base. As a look at that pitch, missing just high. Harrison Cole calling the balls and strikes behind the plate. Cold strike 3. Garcia down on strikes to end the first, but the Vikings come up with a run on a hit. 1 error, 1 left on base through half an inning. Long Beach 1, Santa Ana coming to bat. It's the 3C2A Softball Super Regionals on SoCalCollegeSports.com. We welcome you back to Santa Ana for the Super Regionals here on SoCalCollegeSports.com. Warm, humid afternoon here at Santa Ana, California. Game time temperature of 89 degrees. And the Dons coming to bat trailing at 1-0 with Erlen Ramirez at the plate. Ramirez will lead things off to be followed by Rang Soupson and Sarah Casey. First pitch from Daisy Torres back in the circle for a ball. Wanted to finish, I mentioned the umpires briefly. It's Harrison Cole behind the plate, John Bennett at first, Paul Marines at third for game two. Offering from Torres is low, 2 balls and no strikes quickly on Erlen Ramirez. Ramirez, a sophomore out of Godinez High School. Good fastball from Torres, 2 balls and a strike. Torres yesterday went 4 innings, surrendering 5 hits, walked 4, struck out 4, 3 runs allowed. And she takes the loss. The Dons go on to win it 8-0. Bouncer foul, 2 balls, 2 strikes on Erlen Ramirez. Ramirez taking some time now. She'll dig back in. Fouled away. Ramirez comes in batting .333. A home run, 30 runs batted in. Noelani Benitez in left. Aaliyah Marquez in center. Kirsten Sanchez in right. 2-2 from Torres. Tries the curveball and misses outside. 3 balls, 2 strikes on Ramirez. That's a perfect first at-bat for Erlen Ramirez, who will see her 7th pitch of the at-bat. Right away working on the pitch count of Torres. Cold, strike 3. Torres paints the inside corner and gets the strikeout against Ramirez for out number 1. That'll bring up Alana Rang Soupson. Rang Soupson has been red hot of late. Her average up to .321, no home runs, 19 runs batted in. She's a freshman. And on the roster, it just lists Cal High School. I don't know if that's the actual name or just a shortened version. Nonetheless, comes from Whittier. No balls and a strike. Torres herself has had an outstanding year leading this Viking pitching staff, and she gets a big assignment here. Do you want to correct that yesterday we were under the impression that this was a 3-game series on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday? That is not the case for those that don't know. In the air on the left side, and it drops just foul. No balls and 2 strikes. Game 2 underway now, and if necessary, if the Vikings are able to get the win here in Game 2, Game 3 will follow at 2 o'clock here today. And that changes things significantly when you think of the possibility of Torres in the circle for the Vikings or Rosas for the Dons, and all of a sudden it becomes not so sure thing that we'll see Torres or Rosas in Game 3. So decisions for Megan Martinez, the head coach for the Vikings, or Marissa Ross for the Dons about what to do in Game 3 if necessary. No balls and 2 strikes on Rang Soupson. Sarah Casey waiting on deck. On the infield, Ileana Rivera, Jade Whitman, Jennifer Aguilar, and Brianna Nunez, third to first. Rang Soupson tried to hold up. They'll appeal down. And she was able to hold up. 2 balls and 2 strikes. The Viking faithful wanted that one, didn't get it. So Rang Soupson still at the plate with a 2-2 count. That was a quick look at the replay. Here's the 2-2 back to live action. Fly ball, right field. It's deep, back to the track. It's going to get to the wall. Rang Soupson going to head into second. She'll hold there with a double. Well, that is eerily similar to a big hit from Rag Soupson yesterday. An RBI triple in the fifth that gave the Dons a 3-0 lead at the time. She put it in nearly the same spot as she gets it over the head of Kirsten Sanchez, and Rang Soupson, who can fly, cruises into second and holds there with a stand-up double. That'll bring up Casey. Off speed, just low, a ball and no strikes. Daisy Torres comes in with a record of 23-9 in 184 innings. She's allowed 195 hits, walked 82 and struck out 100. So it's not particularly noteworthy for Daisy Torres to give up a hit or two. Coming up with runs has been the bigger challenge for her opponents. Her ERA an outstanding one at 2.66. In for a strike, 2 balls and a strike on Casey. Sarah Casey comes in batting .367, 3 home runs, 24 runs batted in. Torres tried the drop ball, and Casey fouls it back to the screen. 2 balls, 2 strikes on Sarah Casey with Rang Soupson at second and 1 down here in the bottom of the first. Low for a ball. 3 balls, 2 strikes. Another deep count in this top of the first inning for Daisy Torres, who's already piling up the pitches. Called strike 3. That time, Torres paints the outside corner. Freezes Casey, gets the strikeout, her second strikeout here in the first inning. 2 down. Rang Soupson still at second, and JoJo Westerfield coming to the plate. Westerfield batting .343 on the season. No home runs, 24 runs batted in. Fouled away again, and Westerfield quickly in a hole. No balls and 2 strikes. And there is a look at JoJo Westerfield out of El Dorado High School in her sophomore season. Rise ball for ball 1, 1 and 2 on Westerfield. Alexis Rangel would be next if Westerfield can keep it alive. The Vikings with the early 1-0 lead. Outside for a ball. 2 balls and 2 strikes. Westerfield on the season in 137 at-bats has walked 9 times, struck out just 8. Two and 2, back through the box. That's a base hit for Westerfield. Rang Soupson rounding third. She'll score without a play as Marquez can't come up with it cleanly. And JoJo Westerfield ties things up in the bottom of the first with another clutch hit for the Dons. This is what they've been doing all postseason. It's a great piece of hitting from Westerfield with 2 strikes. Goes right back up the middle. It was going to be tough to get Rang Soupson under the best of conditions, but Marquez couldn't come up with it cleanly. And so Rang Soupson scores without a play. And we're tied at 1. The Dons with another 2-out RBI hit. And that's been the story in this postseason. 3 straight games with 8 runs on the board for the Dons. When you combine that with the pitching of Emily Rosas, that's where you've had the Dons being absolutely dominating so far here in the postseason. No balls, 2 strikes on Rangel. Rangel comes in batting .303, no home runs, 17 runs batted in. She's in a hole, no balls and 2 strikes. Torres rocks and fires. Swung on and missed. Torres strikes out the side but gives up a couple of hits and a run. We'll head to the second, tied at 1. It's the 3C2A Softball Super Regionals on SoCalCollegeSports.com. At the top of the second inning, Jennifer Aguilar will lead things off, to be followed by Brianna Nunez and Noelani Benitez. 6, 7, 8. 2 up for the Vikings, tied at 1 after 1. It's been a fascinating super regional so far here in Santa Ana, with the Dons taking the 1-0 lead. But taking a look at some of the other scores, it's been craziness all around. The top 2 seeds in the South, Cerritos and Mount Sac, the 2 seed and 1 seed respectively, each lost yesterday. So both of those teams need to come up with doubleheader wins today to advance to Bakersfield. And on the north side, San Mateo, the top seed, lost their opener yesterday. They need to come up with a doubleheader sweep today against Sacramento City to punch their ticket. So who knows who we'll see when we head to Bakersfield next week. Both of these teams hoping it will be them. The Dons just need 1 to close it out. The Vikings need to come up with the doubleheader sweep. No balls and 2 strikes on Aguilar. Reaches out and fouls it away. 0-2 on Aguilar. Briefly alluded to the spectacular numbers for Emily Rosas. She is now 36-6 on the season. The 36 wins far and away leads the 3C2A. 261 in the third inning. She's allowed just 140 hits and 152 walks. Gets the strikeout against Aguilar. So now up to the moment, it's 293 strikeouts for Emily Rosas on the season. The ERA, a microscopic 0.96. 1 down, and it will bring up Brianna Nunez. Punting on the first pitch, Veals on it quickly and goes to first. Both of these teams have excelled defensively all season long, both in the infield and on the outfield. And Nia Veals comes into the lineup today and gets the start with the injury to Robles, and she's already made 2 strong plays in the field. So she comes into the lineup, and the Dons pick up right where they left off. Quickly 2 down, first pitch misses just high. 1 ball and no strikes on Noelani Benitez. Benitez batting .250 on the season, a home run, 16 runs batted in. Well, with a couple of runners on in the top of the first, the Vikings have put a runner on against Emily Rosas in every inning so far this weekend. And I mentioned that as Rosas is just an out away from what would be her first 1-2-3 inning of the Super Regionals, and yet, as she blows it by Benitez for strike 1, the run allowed in the top of the first was the first run she's allowed this weekend. A ball and a strike. Just outside, 2 balls and a strike. Benitez showing a good eye in this at bat already. Couple of pitches that just missed the zone. And she's ahead, 2 balls and a strike. Aaliyah Marquez waits on deck. If Benitez can keep it alive, big swing and a miss, 2 balls and 2 strikes on Benitez. Rosas kicks and delivers. Rise ball high. 3 balls, 2 strikes on Nolani Benitez. Benitez, a sophomore, Port of Los Angeles High School, sends it foul. Another long at bat. This now the 3rd meeting of the season between these two teams. Each team has taken a game. They met in the regular season back on March 1st. That was a Viking win, 1-0 in Long Beach. And of course the second meeting was yesterday in game 1 of the Super Regionals, with the Dons pulling away for an 8-0 win. Payoff pitch. Called strike 3.
No runs, no hits, no errors.
Just catches the inside corner.
Score still tied, 1-1.
Benitez down on strikes to end the inning. 1-2-3 for Rosas. We head to the bottom of the second inning, tied at 1. It's the Vikings and the Dons on SoCalCollegeSports.com. Bottom of the second from Santa Ana. Don's coming to bat in a 1-1 tie. It'll be Emily Rosas to be followed by Yadi Ramirez and Naya Veals against Daisy Torres. Rosas, another big day at the plate yesterday with 3 runs batted in to help her own cause in the big win. Change outside for a ball. 1 ball and no strikes. Rosas really only been in the lineup since April 20th. But I should say since earlier in April, but since April 20th, she has been as good a hitter as the Dons have had in the lineup. She was 6 for 13 since April 20th coming into the postseason, and she's only picked it up from there. Off the elbow. And are they going to make Rosas come back? Yeah, Harrison Cole, I believe, is going to make the ruling that Rosas made no effort to get out of the way of this ball. And I got to tell you, as we'll watch the replay here, I think it's a pretty good call. I think Rosas sees where this is going and sees that she can get herself on to lead off this inning. And we'll watch here. And, yeah, not only does she not make the effort, but a little flare of the elbow to get in there. That's a great shot. And we had a good view of it, and I think you give Harrison Cole a lot of credit there. I think he was right on that call. It'll go down as a ball, so Rosas is way out in front in the count, 3 balls and no strikes, but not on first. And we'll get back to it. And Megan Martinez comes out and I think wants to get an explanation on something. Obviously, that was a pretty favorable call for the Vikings. So it's hard to say, but in any event, Torres will get back in the circle and will get going. It's 3 balls and no strikes on Rosas. Over for a strike, 3-1. 3-2 as Torres goes to a couple of fastballs to run the count full on Rosas. Meanwhile, Rosas able to deliver a base hit back up the middle on the 3-2 pitch. Third hit of the game already for the Dons, and the leadoff batter aboard, and that'll bring up Yadi Ramirez. Ramirez finished it off, first pitch swinging, or that's a look at Rosas, excuse me. Pretty seamless transition. Ramirez, meanwhile, bunts it back to the circle. A successful sacrifice will move Rosas to second with one down. Dons looking for the lead. And Naya Veals will come to the plate. We'll talk a little more about Yadi Ramirez next time she comes up. She got her work done quickly, moving Rosas into scoring position, and that'll bring up Veals. Over for a strike, and now Torres starting to pick up the velocity some. That is not her normal MO. We'll see if she stays with it. And again, good movement and a swing and a miss from Veals. Veals, in a pinch hitting appearance yesterday, did have a base hit. Naya Veals now 3 for 15 on the season. Pitch a little low. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Jaylina Perez on deck. The 1-2 from Torres. Veals swings, lines it into shallow center. It's going to drop in for a base hit. This is going to give the Dons the lead. No. Rosas does hold at third as Veals comes up with another base hit. Well, perhaps an opportunity missed for the Dons as Marquez again has a little trouble coming up with this cleanly. It's hit to such shallow center field that Rosas elects to hold up, and that was a good job by Marquez, incidentally recovering after getting handcuffed by that ball. And she was on it quickly, wheeled, and made the throw. Perez with a swing and a miss, no balls and a strike. So Rosas holds at third. The Dons threatening in the bottom of the second. The runner to third, good play from Rivera. They have Rosas hung up momentarily, but Rosas able to scramble back and make it to the bag. That is a big play. Watch here as Rivera comes up with this cleanly. Now Rosas a little bit off the bag, but Rivera cannot get the throw in time to Whitman covering, and the fielder's choice loads the bases still with only 1 out. Now hold on a second, Jaylina Perez is coming back. Are they going to say this was a foul ball? It looked like Rivera came up with this in fair territory. We'll see if Matt Tindo, our director, can get this one. And yeah, we'll get a look at it here. And I don't think there's any question that that was in fair territory. But you see, Harrison Cole is making the call that that's a foul ball. So no balls and 2 strikes. Runner still at first and third as the runners return. The pitch outside for a ball. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Well, that's a break for the Vikings, I think. As it turned out that Perez was safe on the fielder's choice. And now the Vikings will bring it in for a conference. That'll give us time to tell you that Jaylina Perez comes in batting .333 on the season, 2 home runs, 10 runs batted in. Perez plays part-time in left field along with Brianna Padilla. And today it's Perez. And she's got an opportunity here in the bottom of the second to give the Dons the lead with runners at the corners and one down. A ball and 2 strikes, the count. And there is Perez, the freshman out of Anaheim. With a 1-2 count, Torres into the wind. Bouncer to third, now Rivera's gonna come home, and this time they've got Rosas as Ross will put the tag on.
Now batting number 27, Erlyn Ramirez.
Perez safe at first on the fielder's choice. So it's runners at first and second, 2 down, and the Dons will be looking for yet another clutch hit. With Erlyn Perez at the plate, I should say Erlyn Ramirez at the plate. She's 0 for 1. She struck out in the first. First pitch from Torres, outside for a ball. The Dons already with 4 hits through 1 2/3, but only 1 run on the board. Torres trying to work out of the jam. 2 balls and no strikes. Ileana Rivera, part of an outstanding infield for the Vikings, along with Jade Whitman and Jennifer Aguilar, all with fielding percentages up over .930 on the season. And so Rivera very sure-handed on a couple of balls in this second inning. 2 balls and a strike on Erlyn Ramirez. Ramirez comes in batting .333, a home run, 30 runs batted in. Looking to add to that total. Into center, or I should say cut off at short by Whitman, who robs Ramirez of what looked like a base hit, moving to her left. And she goes to first to retire the side. Watch the glove work of Jade Whitman. This is a hard hit ball that Whitman takes on the hop to get the Vikings out of the inning. No runs on 2 hits. We're through 2, tied at 1 on SoCalCollegeSports.com.
Session leads down by
Aaliyah Marquez will lead things off in the top of the third. And then it's the top of the order, Kirsten Sanchez and Jaylene Ross for the Vikings. We're tied at 1, Super Regionals Game 2 between the Dons and the Vikings, with the Dons leading it 1-0. So here is Marquez. First pitch high for a ball. 1 ball and no strikes on Aaliyah Marquez. Rosas kicks and delivers, misses low. 2 balls, no strikes. Aaliyah Marquez. Give you the numbers in just a moment. Rise ball high, Marquez way out in front, 3 balls and no strikes. Marquez comes in batting .286, no home runs, 7 runs batted in. Sophomore leader on this team. I talked about just how hard of a worker Aaliyah Marquez is. Provides that great example for so many players on the team. 3 balls, 2 strikes. Rosas trying to come all the way back from a 3-0 count. Marquez digs in. Payoff pitch. Into left, that's a base hit for Marquez. Perez will get it back in. A leadoff single. Gets the Viking fans into it. That's great execution from Aaliyah Marquez. Getting the running start, working that left side. Deposits it over the head of Erlen Ramirez into left. You can't do it any better. Marquez on it first. And that'll bring up Sanchez. Struck out her first time up. That one slips by Veals. Everybody's going to be safe as Veals tried to make the shoestring catch on the bunt attempt by Sanchez. Let's watch here again. That's a calculated risk from Nia Veals, who's thinking double play. If she comes up with that one off the shoe tops, she's likely to get her double play, but when she misses, that ball gets through. Sanchez easily safe at first, and the Vikings have something going in the top of the third with back-to-back singles by Marquez and Sanchez. And now the heart of the order with Ross, Whitman, and Rivera coming up. Hence the Dons will come in for a quick conference, and Rosas is going to have to come up with something nasty. She was able to do it several times yesterday as the Vikings scattered 9 base runners via hits and walks over 6 innings, but couldn't get on the board. They have runners at first and second, still nobody out, and here's Jaylene Ross. First pitch swinging, and a foul ball on the left side, and Ross comes into action batting .461, 3 home runs, 29 runs batted in. Jaylene Ross already eyeing several offers to continue her career after this season. Bunts it back to the circle. Rosas will go with the safe play to first and get Ross, who moves the runners up to second and third with 1 down. Golden opportunity for the Vikings to go back out in front as Jade Whitman will come to the plate. Whitman batting .385 with 2 home runs, 22 runs batted in. Jade Whitman, nicknamed J Money. Interesting story in the relationship between Jade Whitman and Ileana Rivera on the left side of that Viking infield. Played together for a couple of years. They become very close, best of friends, and both players expressed a desire to look to play together at the next level. And Megan Martinez and the coaches made the decision to try and aid in that and talk to coaches at the next level about the desire for Whitman, who along with Rivera just happened to both be outstanding players, which always helps. And so it looks as they look ahead to next season that they are indeed eyeing the same offers to the same schools, and in all likelihood will be moving forward together to the next level and to continue to play together. And why not, judging by how they have played on the left side of that Viking infield, both in the field and at the plate. They have both developed into outstanding players. 1 ball and 2 strikes on Jade Whitman with Rivera waiting on deck. Rise ball high and inside, 2 balls and 2 strikes. Rosas already with 4 strikeouts through 2 1/3. She had 11 yesterday over 6 innings. And she would love to come up with one here. 2-2. Good cut from Whitman, but can't quite barrel it up. And that's the difficulty of hitting against Emily Rosas. Even when you're on a pitch, velocity-wise, as Whitman was, she had that one well timed, but that little bit of movement, and you just can't quite get the barrel on it. Rise ball misses high, 3 balls and 2 strikes. Rosas does have first base open with runners at second and third, and 1 down. Here's the payoff pitch. Chopper foul. Tremendous battle between Rosas and Whitman. Whitman coming in batting .385. She lined to third her first time up. Hit it hard, but Veals was positioned well. Rosas back in the circle. Here we go. Foul tip. Eight pitch at bat for Jade Whitman. And this is what you would expect. We're now working on the 15th inning that the Vikings have seen Rosas back to the screen again. And so you would expect that even against a pitcher of the caliber of Emily Rosas that you'll start to see everything that she's got over that kind of time frame. So we'll see if the Viking hitters will become more dialed in or if Rosas can keep them at bay. Here's the 3-2. Hit hard but foul. Well, it's a number of rise balls in a row, and that's not terribly surprising. That's the strong pitch for Emily Rosas, but does she think about going to a change? Seeing if she could fool Whitman. Rosas directing traffic, and now she's ready to go. 3-2 again, and took a little something off. And a wave and a miss from Whitman. And let's watch here, because it looks to me like that was a breaking ball. And Rosas changes speeds and indeed is able to fool Whitman and come up with strikeout number 5 on the afternoon. And now she'll work to Ileana Rivera. The Vikings still with 2 on and 2 out. Here comes Marissa Ross. And she is going to bring in the infield and talk it over. Rivera is another outstanding hitter, and this is another situation where there is some strategy. Rivera, a .469 hitter with 3 home runs and 36 runs batted in. You have first base open. And I think Marissa Ross just wants to get everybody on the same page about how they want to work to Rivera, who they know is very good. And Gladys Garcia, who has also had a great year, is waiting in the on-deck circle, but Rosas has had a lot of success against Garcia so far this year. So Rivera will stand in. First pitch, in for a strike, no balls and a strike. Rivera with a base hit, her first time up. It was an RBI single, bringing home Ross with the first run of the game. The Vikings looking for the lead in the top of the third. Here's the 0-1. 1 ball and 1 strike. Rosas, well, she mixed in a drop ball. And Rivera, for all of the gaudy power numbers, 20 walks on the season against just 9 strikeouts. So she has outstanding command of the strike zone. 2 balls and a strike. Two 2-1 from Rosas. Tails inside, 3 balls and a strike. And I think Rosas is going to be content to see if perhaps she could get Rivera to chase something out of the zone, but if not, first base is there. No, over the plate, bouncing ball to second. Big hop for Vargas, who will go to first to retire the side. The Vikings put 2 on, but come up empty. No runs, 2 hits, no errors, 2 left on base. We're heading to the bottom of the third. Still tied at 1, Dons and Vikings. It'll be Rangsoupson, Casey, and Westerfield in the bottom of the third for the Dons, who dodge a bullet in the top of the third. Emily Rosas comes up big again with runners on base. The first 2 batters reach. They eventually put runners at second and third, but Rosas able to get out of the jam and keep the score at 1-1. And Rangsoupson, who has been caution flammable here in the postseason, will lead things off. First pitch over for a strike for Daisy Torres, who has to continue to try and match Emily Rosas here in game 2. Oh, 1 pitch. Bouncer to short. Good hop for Whitman, who goes to first to just get Rangsoupson. Well, you see the speed as this one's on the second hop, and Whitman. Well, one more look at it here. And Rangsoupson from the left side has that advantage of that extra half step. And with her speed, that is a bang-bang play, and Whitman just gets it there. For out number 1, that will bring up Sarah Casey, who struck out her first time up. Off speed high for a ball. Sarah Casey out of Orange Lutheran High School in her freshman year. Here's the 1-0. 2 balls and no strikes. And Casey comes to the Dons after transferring from Arizona Christian. Inside, 3 balls and no strikes. It'll be interesting to see for Sarah Casey, who's in her freshman year, if she will head back to the 4-year level or if the Dons will have her for another year. You know it's a bat that Marissa Ross would love to have in the lineup for another season. 3 balls and a strike. Just low, Casey with a 1-out walk. Dons have a base runner. That'll bring up JoJo Westerfield. Westerfield, the sophomore, stands in. The first pitch from Torres. Breaking ball outside, 1 ball and no strikes on Westerfield. Singled her first time up. That was her first single, or I should say her first hit against the Vikings this season. So she gets off the schneid. Now the Dons will see perhaps if she could get things going. Get a little streak going. Ball and a strike. Torres ready. Inside, that got a piece of Westerfield. Well, she's on again. And the Dons quickly put 2 on with 1 out.
Now batting, number 22, Alexis Rangel.
A walk followed by a hit by pitch. Dons with a couple of base runners without a hit here in the third, and Alexis Rangel will be the batter. Rangel struck out to end the first, her first time up. Vikings will come in to talk it over, and of course an awful lot on the line. The winner advances to Bakersfield, but in particular here in game 2, the Vikings playing to keep their season alive. Torres, who went 4 innings yesterday, back in the circle. It is a warm, muggy day here in Santa Ana. A little breeze, but fatigue would figure to be something of a factor, so perhaps a break for the Vikings that Torres had a shorter stint yesterday. The 0-1. Change up just outside, a ball and a strike on Rangel. Had a pretty good look there at the pretty swing of Rangel, and that was the first thing that Marissa Ross talked about when we talked about Alexis Rangel. She's a tremendous hitter. Always an advantage for the lefty. Just an aesthetically more pleasing swing, sorry to say. I should think I'd be allowed to say that I'm a righty. 1 ball, 2 strikes on Rangel. Outside 2-2. Emily Rosas, who has been so incredibly clutch all throughout this postseason at the plate, is due up next. Just outside, they will appeal down, and they will call it strike 3. So Rangel strikes out for the second time today. Tried to hold up, but this looked like it might have caught the outside corner anyway. Well, it's hard to say. It does not look like Rangel went around on that replay. But they did appeal down. And the call goes the way of the Vikings. That's a big strikeout for Torres, who will now go to work. Drop ball in for a strike to Rosas, who will look to come up big at the plate again. A base hit, her first time up. She had 3 RBIs yesterday. Line drive, another hit for Rosas. Marquez able to cut it off, but the run will come around to score. And the Dons grab the 2-1 lead. Rosas continues to do it at the plate as well. 2 for 2, another 2-out hit, and the Dons grab the 2-1 lead. Man, oh man. If Emily Rosas had not even appeared in the circle, she'd be making a case for being the MVP here in the postseason just by what she's done at the plate. That's another huge 2-out hit. And the Dons grab the 2-1 lead. Yadi Ramirez will come to the plate. She's had a couple of big 2-run hits in the postseason. She had a big 2-run single to cap off the scoring in the Game 2 win against the Marauders. She had a 2-run single to cap off the scoring in the Game 1 win yesterday. So Ramirez has piled up the RBIs in the postseason. She'll have a chance here with 2 on and 2 out. Just low for a ball. 1 ball and no strikes on Yadi Ramirez. The Dons have grabbed the lead with a run in the third. They lead it 2-1. Over for a strike. 1-1 on Ramirez. A successful sacrifice, her first time up for Yadi Ramirez. batting just a couple of spots in front as the off-speed pitch misses inside 2 balls and a strike of her sister Erilyn Ramirez. Inside for a ball, 3 balls and a strike. Haven't had much chance to talk about the catchers, but Yadi Ramirez really anchors this defense as well. It's been so solid behind the plate. Working with Rosas primarily all season long. Another walk.
Now batting, number 10, Naya Veal.
That loads him up. And Naya Veals will come to the plate. She's perfect for the Super Regionals. 2 for 2. What a chance here for the Dons. And Torres now has scattered 5 hits through 2 2/3. Drop ball missing for ball 1. 1 ball and no strikes. Called strike on Veals out of Marina High School in her freshman year. Veals gets the start today. The injury to Vinny Robles. Outside, 2 balls and a strike. Well, we are speculating somewhat Robles left the game yesterday with an apparent injury and now is not in the lineup for game 2. Didn't get any official word. 2 balls and 2 strikes on Veals. Jaylina Perez on deck. Dons looking for another 2-out hit. Veals bounces it to second. Aguilar to first. And the Vikings are out of the inning. But the Dons grab the lead. 1 run on 1 hit. They leave them loaded. We're through 3. Santa Ana on top of Long Beach 2-1. It's the 3C2A Softball Super Regionals on SoCalCollegeSports.com. Gladys Garcia will lead things off to be followed by Jennifer Aguilar and Brianna Nunez. 5-6-7 coming up for the Vikings, who trail it for the first time today, 2-1, as they come to bat here at the top of the 4th. Garcia struck out her first time up. And Rosas back in the circle, now looking to protect a lead. First pitch to Garcia on the inside corner. Called strike 1. Ground ball to second, takes a tough hop on Vargas, and Vargas just has to hold on to it as Garcia is safe at first. This was a hard hit ball, and Vargas tried to stay in front of it, but it just kind of ate her up. That is a tough play. We'll see how they ultimately score that. Either way, Garcia at first. Leadoff batter aboard, and Aguilar coming to the plate. I'm torn on that one. Generally, I'm a pretty forgiving scorer. Rather call it a base hit, but obviously Vargas was there and couldn't come up with it. 1-0 on Jennifer Aguilar. Struck out her first time up. Low for a ball, 2 balls and no strikes. Two and 0 on Aguilar. Popped up back toward the screen, just out of reach for Yadi Ramirez. Two balls and a strike on Aguilar. Still no word. Bunted back to the circle. Rosas looking at second and gets the force. That is tremendous. Emily Rosas makes the decision early. She's thinking second all the way and gets the force out, keeps the runner at first with 1 down. Also good to see Rosas go overhand and deliver the strike to second. She had an errant throw back in the first that led to the Viking run. Popped up, back toward the screen. Ramirez runs out of room, no balls and a strike. Brianna Nunez, who grounded to third her first time up. Brianna Nunez talked briefly yesterday. Asked to make the move to first base. Pulled the money ball. And Brianna, as she is called, makes the move this season, learns to play first base, and Megan Martinez very effusive in her praise about the hard work that Nunez has put in. Learning a new position, it's never easy. Popped up, shallow center. Playable for Rang Soupson for out number 2.
Now batting, number 6, Noelani.
Nunez retired. That'll bring up Noelani Benitez. She struck out her first time up. Rang Soupson getting to that ball easily. That's a ball where you see a lot of trouble just in back of second. A lot of hits drop in, but Rang Soupson flashes the range, and she's there waiting for that ball. Not only does she have the range, no errors on the season for Alana Rang Soupson. So Emily Rosas can do a lot herself, but she's got the defense behind her. High for a ball. 1-1 on Benitez. Aguilar at first with 2 down. We're in the top of the 4th with the Dons trying to punch their ticket to Bakersfield on top 2-1. Rise ball and a wave and a miss from Benitez. 1-2 on Benitez. Benitez had a terrific at bat against Rosas, eventually struck out, but it was a long, good battle. Off of Beals into left. Another base runner. As Benitez grounds it hard, and Veals well inside the bag, doesn't have a lot of time. Can't come up with it cleanly. Benitez aboard. 2 on, 2 out. And Aaliyah Marquez coming to the plate. And there is Marquez out of Fullerton. Rise ball high, 1 ball and no strikes. 2 more runners on for the Vikings here in the 4th. And Rosas coming up, looking to come up, I should say, with another big pitch to get out of a jam. One-0 outside. 2 balls, no strikes. On the ground, just foul. 2 balls and a strike. Quick visit from Veals. 2 balls and a strike on Marquez. Rosas kicks and deals. Marquez again tries to slap to the left side, fouls it away. 2 balls and 2 strikes. Last time up, Marquez did just that perfectly with a single to left. And you would expect that Jaylina Perez is going to be in a few steps in left field, and she is. Two and two, ground ball to short. Ramirez goes the long way and gets Marquez by a step to retire the side. The Vikings leave 2 on. We head to the bottom of the 4th. Don's on top 2-1 here on SoCalCollegeSports.com. Jaylina Perez will lead things off in the bottom of the 4th, to be followed by Erlyn Ramirez and Alana Rangsupson. For the Dons, they lead it 2-1. Perez retired on a fielder's choice, her first time up. They're in the bottom of the 5th. San Mateo on top of Sacramento City, 1-0. San Mateo trying to stay alive and force a Game 3 in that 1 versus 9 matchup in the North. First pitch to Perez, just foul. Rivera creeping in, but unable to get that one. So Perez will come back. Cerritos taking on Santiago Canyon. That's a 2-7 matchup. Santiago Canyon took Game 1. Inside, hit by the pitch, and Perez is aboard. And that time Harrison Cole is going to award the base. So Perez gets aboard to lead off the bottom of the 4th. And Erlyn Ramirez will come to the plate. Cerritos leading in the bottom of the 5th, 2-0. They are trying to stay alive and force a Game 3. It's been a topsy-turvy super regional so far. High for ball 1 to Ramirez. She's 0 for 2. Erlyn Ramirez, a third-year player due to COVID. Fairly common. Snap, throw down. Runner back, 2 balls and no strikes. So Ramirez is a decided veteran. Also the third pitcher on this Don staff, and obviously that's not going to be a position where there's going to be a ton of work with Emily Rosas far and away the leader in wins, innings pitched, and any number of other stats in the circle. She is going to handle a lot of the workload. 3 balls and a strike, and that frees up Erilyn Ramirez to be in the leadoff spot for every game, which she has been this season. 3-1. Torres can ill afford to put Ramirez on. Bunts it back toward the circle, and again, Torres, the only play to first, gets Ramirez. Successful sacrifice, moves Perez to second for Rang Soupson, who's 1 for 2. She doubled and scored in the first. Rang Soupson is now 5 for 8 in the postseason, with the hit back in the first. On the outside corner, no balls and a strike, and it's a chance for Rang Soupson to be a hero yet again. An insurance run would be enormous for the Dons with Rosas in the circle. Drop ball low, 1 ball, 1 strike. Casey on deck. A lot of pressure on Daisy Torres and the Vikings. They can ill afford to fall behind by even a couple of runs. So hard to put runs on the board against Rosas. A ball and 2 strikes. Torres ready into the wind. Popped up, shallow left. Benitez there. 2 down, and that'll bring up Casey. Sarah Casey, 1 for 2 with a couple of walks in the win yesterday. Chops that one foul, no balls and a strike. And Casey now 3 for 9 in the postseason. She'll try to pick up Perez at second with 2 down. Well, Torres did a good job to limit the Dons to just 1 run in the third, after the Dons had them loaded. 1-1. You have to imagine this would be a lift for the Vikings if she could get out of the inning not allowing any runs after the leadoff batter got aboard, and the Dons were able to move Perez into scoring position. 2 balls and a strike. The 2-1, slow chopper to short, but Whitman with a strong peg, able to get Casey and retire the side. The leadoff hit batter goes nowhere. We're through 4. Dons on top 2-1. It's the 3C2A Super Regionals on SoCalCollegeSports.com. Kirsten Sanchez will lead things off. Sanchez 1 for 2 in the game. Last time up, Sanchez able to break out of a little slump herself. She had been hitless in the postseason so far. But the base hit her last time up breaks her out of it. And now she'll go to work leading off the 5th against Emily Rosas. First pitch from Rosas in for a strike. No balls and a strike. It'll be Sanchez, Ross, and Whitman. I briefly mentioned Kirsten Sanchez, the pride of San Pedro. And that is the name we were given. And Sanchez happy to have that moniker. No balls and 2 strikes. Sanchez, similar to Erland Ramirez, if only different in terms of the amount of work, but she is also the 3rd pitcher for this Viking staff. And she has had a terrific season in the circle. We have not seen her in the series so far. But she is a tremendous hurler for this Viking squad as well. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Rosas ready, outside for a ball. Sanchez initially signed with Chaminade in Hawaii, coming out of high school, but came back due to COVID. Terrific play by Rosas, ranging to her right. We talked about Torres and how good she has been as the 5th infielder, but Rosas does a tremendous job there. That's a ball that could be trouble with the speedy Sanchez getting down the line. But Rosas able to field it and deliver a strike for out number 1. That'll bring up Ross. 0 for 1, reached on an error and had a successful sacrifice. Jaylene Ross, 1 for 2 with a walk yesterday. She's 5 for 9 in the postseason. She had a cut. No balls and a strike. Well, that was power against power. Ross going after the rise ball from Rosas. And it's Rosas that wins that battle. No balls and a strike. Rosas into the wind. Off speed, over for a strike. No balls and 2 strikes. And again, anytime that Rosas goes to the change, it's about a 1 in 10 chance that you're even going to see a batter be able to get the bat off the shoulder and swing at it. That's how much you have to respect the rise ball from Rosas. Fouled off by Ross, who will try to come back from an 0-2 count. Jaylene Ross, I should say, also a bounce back. Interesting story as she came back and just started working out with the team. Not even necessarily reaching out to come back and play, at least not directly. And it went from there. And as she stays alive again against Rosas. First team All-Conference, All-State, All-American. And a player that naturally plays middle infield, center field. But for the Vikings, she's made the move behind the plate. And she's been catching all season long. Off speed, and that time Ross able to fight it off. No balls and 2 strikes. Jaylene Ross was 1 for 2 with a walk yesterday against Rosas. Stands in, ready to go. Here's the 1-2, another foul ball. Well, these longer at-bats on both sides could be significant, especially if we start talking about a Game 3, and the decision has to be made. Do you come back with either Daisy Torres or Emily Rosas in a game where the stakes would be as high as you could count? Here's the 0-2. Again, fouled off. Another good battle. This similar to an at-bat we saw back in the third with Jade Whitman, who waits on deck. We've seen the full variety from Rosas and Ross fighting off one pitch or another, and how often do we talk about it in our coverage? Softball or baseball, it's just as true either way. The longer an at-bat goes, the more it tends to swing in favor of the batter. Here's the 0-2. Fouled off one more time. Well, I wonder at this point, if you're Rosas, if you try to really come with something well out of the zone. Ross is pretty well dialed in to protecting that strike zone, but you might get her to chase something way out of the zone. Here's the 0-2. Ground ball in the hole, long throw from Ramirez, and Ross retired for out number 2. This was well placed, but Ramirez with a strong arm from the hole and able to get Ross by a step for out number 2, and that'll bring up Whitman 2 down and the base is empty. Jade Whitman 0 for 2, lined to third and struck out. Off speed high for ball 1. Fouled away by Whitman. Megan Martinez talked about Jade Whitman and how she worked so hard during the COVID stoppages over the last couple of years, as hard as anybody, and really put in the work during that downtime when there were no games, when there wasn't as much opportunity to practice, and she was still coming in, working on her own, and that work has really paid off for Jade Whitman coming back here in 2022. Fouled back to the screen. Whitman batting .385 coming in. 2 home runs, 22 runs batted in. She's 4 for 12 overall in the postseason. 1-2 pitch. Down the left field line and caught. Moving back on it, it's Veals with another terrific play in foul territory this time. Watch Veals moving back off the end of the bat, and Veals tracks it down for out number 3. That retires the side in the top of the 5th. Santa Ana leading Long Beach 2-1. It's the 3C2A Softball Super Regionals on SoCalCollegeSports.com. JoJo Westerfield will lead things off. to be followed by Alexis Rangel and Emily Rosas in the bottom of the 5th. Westerfield perfect on the afternoon so far. A single and been hit by a pitch in 2 trips. Mentioned that Westerfield with the hit earlier. That was her first hit of the season against Daisy Torres. Bouncing ball back up the middle. Westerfield with another hit. So Westerfield putting together a solid day at the plate. She's been on 3 times. Gets this over Torres, and there's little to no chance that Aguilar is going to have any kind of play if she can get to that ball. And the Dons, again, looking for insurance. Here in the bottom of the 5th, have the leadoff batter aboard with Rangel coming to the plate. She's had a quiet day at the plate, 0 for 2. Looking to bunt it, and it's foul. No balls and a strike on Alexis Rangel. Rangel has struggled this season against Viking pitching. She's still hitless. But if there's one thing we could say about the Dons lineup in our coverage the last few games, they've come up with hits at big times. Double pump on the bunt attempt, and everybody's going to be safe. Rivera got there quickly, and I can't tell if she just didn't have a lane. Nunez was charging from first. Now let's watch here, and it looks, Nunez is getting out of the way. I'm not exactly sure what prompted the double pump from Rivera. It looked like she had a lane to make the throw. Maybe, can we run that replay one more time, Matt? Let's see if it might have been that Aguilar was just a step late getting over. But Rangel is able to leg it out, and we're slowing it down, and now it looks like everybody's there, and Rivera, just a slight hesitation, and that's all it takes for Rangel to get to first. And now the Vikings in a jam in the bottom of the 5th. They trail it 2-1. The Dons have 2 on, nobody out, and Emily Rosas coming to the plate. Rosas is 4 for 6 in the series with 4 runs batted in.
Now batting, number 48, Emily Rosas.
And she has a chance to once again deliver in her own cause. She's 6 outs away in the circle from helping the Dons get to Bakersfield. But she could strike a big blow at the plate right here with 2 on and nobody out. Bunts it to third. Rivera with time will go to third for the force.
Now batting, number 5, Yadi Ramirez.
1 down. Runner still at first and second. Boy, it is tough. I know that Rivera just had a chance on the previous play with Rangel at the plate and wasn't able to get Rangel, but generally speaking, it's very tough to get one down on the left side with Rivera. She is very sure-handed and seems to make good decisions. That time she's able to get the lead runner. 1 ball and no strikes on Yadi Ramirez. No official at bat. She's walked and had a successful sacrifice. 1 ball and 1 strike as Torres pumps the fastball in. Mentioned Ramirez yesterday, finished it off. She was 2 for 3 with a walk, and her 2-run single ended the game in the 6th. Line drive into left. It's going to drop in for a base hit. No play at third. The ball gets through, but the runners are going to hold as Ross finally tracks it down. Ramirez delivers the base hit. Drops it in front of Benitez. Another hit for Ramirez in the Super Regional. She's now got 3 hits. And that loads him up with 1 down. Just over the head of Whitman. That'll bring up Nia Veals and a chance for Veals to be the hero. She's 1 for 2. Torres still working. First pitch in for a strike. Naya Veals, which is 17 at-bats on the season. 4 hits. Huge opportunity. Drop ball just low. 1 ball and 1 strike on Veals. Torres into the wind. 1-1 pitch. Off speed, outside, 2 balls and a strike. Big spot for the freshman Naya Veals. 2-1 pitch. Line drive, shallow center. Marquez coming on and makes the catch and throws home, completes the double play. And just like that, the Vikings are out of the inning. Let's watch here. Marquez positioned well, closes quickly, and Westerfield, that was Rangel, makes the decision to tag, and she is out by a few steps. The Vikings are out of the 5th. We'll head to the 6th. It's still 2-1 on SoCalCollegeSports.com. Whitman, Rivera, and Garcia. The heart of the order coming up for the Vikings in the 6th. After the big play in the field. In the bottom of the 5th, the Vikings come to the plate still trailing by just 1. But that is already a massive task against Emily Rosas. The Vikings with just a couple of runs against Rosas overall in nearly 3 games. No balls and a strike. It's now been 17 2/3 that Rosas has worked against the Vikings. She's allowed 2 runs, just 1 of them earned in that time frame. No balls and a strike. Whitman 0 for 2 in the game. No, we're at Rivera. Sorry, I didn't. I do want to correct that very quickly. It's Rivera at the plate with a count of no balls and 2 strikes. And Whitman last retired to end the 5th. Just outside. Don's crowd wanted the call, but the arm stays down for Harrison Cole, calling the balls and strikes behind the plate. 1 and 2 on Ileana Rivera, who's 1 for 2 in the game. Fouled it off her foot. And Rivera struggles to her feet. Even on a decidedly warm day, it's not fun. And Rivera's certainly struggling. Let's step aside here briefly. While they look at Ileana Rivera, we'll come back. We're in the top of the 6th. 2-1, the Dons on top. So Ileana Rivera ready to go. A ball and 2 strikes. Rosas ready. Here's the pitch. Just low, 2 balls and 2 strikes. Rivera flashing a tremendous eye on a couple of pitches that are just outside the zone. And she is willing to take them. So much is her faith in her command of the strike zone, and now the count goes full. 3 balls and 2 strikes. Rosas takes a little walk. Now she's ready to go. Payoff pitch to Rivera. Foul territory on the right side, now to play.
Can I get the ball, sir? Sir. Thank you.
Rivera stands in. Rosas ready to go. Here's the 3-2, and it's high for ball 4. Ileana Rivera with a leadoff walk.
22, Gladys Garcia.
Let's go, G!
That'll bring up Gladys Garcia. Garcia 0 for 2. That's unofficial. We're trying to get the live stats here, but seem to have lost those momentarily. Well, let's see what we got. Looks like it's something updated. And Garcia 1 for 2, so they are going to give her a base hit. Her last time up on the hard hit ball to Alexis Vargas. And I think that's a good call. So Garcia 1 for 2. And Garcia, who's had an outstanding season at the plate, came in batting .343, 3 home runs, 23 runs batted in. We do have a pinch hitter, pinch runner, I should say, for the Vikings. Haley Vizet will come on to run for Rivera. First pitch swinging, fly ball. Perez there to retire Garcia for out number 1. Vizet will retreat to first, 1 down.
Now batting number 10, Jennifer Aguilar.
And that'll bring up Jennifer Aguilar, who's 0 for 2. Struck out and grounded into a fielder's choice. Vizet on the season, 2 stolen bases in 2 attempts. The Vikings generally not particularly aggressive in terms of the stolen base. Back to the circle, and Rosas again able to go to second. The relay not in time to turn 2. But Aguilar unable to move over the runner on the bunt attempt. 2 down, and now it's Aguilar at first. And Rosas again. You have to be impressed with the aggressiveness of Rosas and this Dons infield. It would be tempting for Rosas to take the sure out at first and take her chances with 2 down and a runner in scoring position against Brianna Nunez, but Rosas says the heck with that and aggressively goes after the lead runner and keeps that potential tying run at first with 2 down. Quick conference from the umpires, and I don't know if they were just conferring on the call at second because Aguilar's still at first, and it's still 2 down. So I suspect they were just conferring on a potential call involving the force of Visay at second. And they're going to stick with the call on the field. And the force out leaves a runner at first with 2 down. Nunez just gets a piece, no balls and a strike on Brianna Nunez, 0 for 2. A ground out and a fly out in 2 trips. Nunez 0 for 4 with a walk in the series. And it looks like, and we have a brief injury timeout. This time, was it Yadi Ramirez behind the plate on the foul tip? And we've covered a lot of baseball and softball. And I know for one thing for sure, no catchers coming out of the game. They're tough. They take a beating back there. And Yadi Ramirez is going to stay on, as if there was any doubt. No balls and a strike on Brianna Nunez. The Vikings running out of time. Nunez in a hole now, no balls and 2 strikes. They're going to need something fairly dramatic against Emily Rosas. They're down just 2-1. But still searching for that timely hit that's been missing all weekend. It's not going to come here. Rosas gets the strikeout as she fans Nunez to end the inning. No runs, no hits, no errors. 1 left on base heading to the bottom of the 6th. The Dons on top 2-1, trying to punch their ticket to Bakersfield. Jaylina Perez will lead things off, to be followed by Erlyn Ramirez and Alana Rangsupson for the Dons, nursing this 2-1 lead into the bottom of the 6th. They're in the top of the 7th at Cerritos. And Santiago Canyon and Cerritos now tied at 3. Santiago Canyon in that tight 3-team race in the Orange Empire Conference. They are the 7th seed and looking to oust the Falcons and make their way to Bakersfield. They took game 1 yesterday. First pitch to Perez, over for a strike. They're just underway. Bakersfield and Mount Sac. No score in the top of the 1st. That might be game 3. 1-1 on Perez. Perez 0 for 1. Grounded into a fielder's choice, hit by a pitch, slaps it toward third, and the throw from Rivera wide of the mark. Perez looking for second, and she'll make it. Jaylina Perez into scoring position on the throwing error. And the Dons still looking for that big insurance run, and they've got another opportunity with Perez at second, nobody out, and Erlyn Ramirez coming to the plate. Ramirez 0 for 2, grounded out and struck out. A successful sacrifice her last time up. And Ramirez stands in. Change up over for a strike for Torres. Torres has battled here today as she works into the 6th. She's had to get out of a couple of jams, but here she is. She's got the Vikings still in this one. They trail it 2-1 here in the 6th. But Daisy Torres has done what she's done all season. Done a good job of keeping the Vikings in the game. 1-1 pitch. Slow curve lifted into deep center, long run. Marquez not going to get there. The Dons are going to push the lead to 3-1 on a double off the bat of Erlen Ramirez. To the deepest part of the park for Erlen Ramirez. Jaylena Perez comes home to score, and the Dons now push the lead to 2. And they still have a runner in scoring position with nobody out here in the 6th. And does Megan Martinez think about making a move? We saw Olivia Ramirez yesterday. She struggled over 1 2/3. Another possibility is a move to Kirsten Sanchez, who has been tremendous this season. Sanchez, 28 1/3 innings pitched on the season, an ERA of 0.99. Ramirez, the other pitcher, came into action today, 60 1/3 innings of work and an ERA of 4.64. But no visit from Megan Martinez, and this is going to be Daisy Torres' game. Both teams have done a good job here today of extending at bats. The pitch count for both pitchers is up there. And Torres has scattered a number of hits and walks as well, which only adds to that total. 1 ball and no strikes on Alana Rangsupsen, who's 1 for 3. She was 2 for 3 with a run batted in game 1 yesterday. Good fastball, a ball and a strike on Rangsupsen. Sarah Casey, another left-handed bat in the on-deck circle. The 1-1 from Torres. On the outside corner, that's a big call for the Vikings on Rangsupsen. 1 ball and 2 strikes. That changes things significantly. That's a terrific job by Jaylene Ross, by the way, of framing that ball up. Helps to get that call. 1-2. Slow roller back to the circle. And Torres elects to go to third. And Ramirez is able to beat the throw. So rather than take the sure out at first, Torres tries to go to third. I like the play there if you're Torres, if that's a force. But I think that's a tough play to make when you've got to get the tag down on Erlen Ramirez. Easy to say with hindsight, but I think the situation there has a lot to do with where you go with that ball. As the first pitch to Casey tails outside. Of course, down 3-1 against arguably the best pitcher in the state. You have to think about taking some chances. Even the most seemingly innocuous of runs could prove to be huge when you're talking about trying to put something together against Emily Rosas. So the Vikings need to make a stand of falling behind 4-1. The way Rosas has been pitching, it might as well be 10-1. 3 balls and no strikes. But again, Torres, that is going to be a tough play to complete, to get that throw over and get the tag down on Ramirez as she makes her way to third. Casey inside, and I don't know if Casey is upset about the pitch, upset that she didn't get a chance to really swing the bat. It's hard to say. I have watched Casey with a few walks in this postseason, and to my memory and to my eye, she always somewhat derisively flicks the bat down as if she's been robbed of a chance to swing the bat. It's hard to say what the motivation was. Either way, she walks on 4 pitches. The bases are now loaded. Still nobody out in the bottom of the 6th, and the Dons with a golden opportunity to really break this one open and remove pretty much any and all doubt about the result here and their trip to Bakersfield. Westerfield will be the batter.
Pinch running for the Dons, number 11, Alexis Vargas.
Alexis Vargas will run
JoJo
for Casey.
Hill.
And Westerfield, who's 2 for 2 and been hit by a pitch, has a chance to break it open with the bases loaded and nobody out. Right now it's a 3-1 game. But a base hit here for Westerfield could go a long way toward really putting it away, realistically speaking. First pitch low, snap, throw down. They've got the runner hung up, and now Vargas ends up at second. And once again, I'm going to have to sort things out here and get caught up as another base hit for Westerfield back up the middle. This is going to be a 2-run single for Westerfield, and the Dons now push the lead to 5-1. Westerfield takes second on the throw. What a day for JoJo Westerfield.
Now batting, number 22, Alexis Rangel.
That'll bring up Rangel. And I do apologize. I lost track of something that happened here. I thought Rang Soupson was retired on a fielder's choice, but made it to first as the throw went to third. In any event, there was a call made on the field, and again, apologies on a mix-up, but let's set the situation. It's 1 down, a runner at second, and the Dons now on top, 5-1 after the 2-run single by Westerfield. Ground ball to second. Aguilar goes to first to get Rangel.
Now batting, number 40.
Westerfield able to take third. 2 down. Here is Rosas. 2 for 3 in the game. Trying to pick up Westerfield at third with 2 down. The Dons have put 3 on the board in the 6th and opened up a 5-1 lead. Again, this was shades of yesterday. 2 balls and no strikes. When the Dons carried a 4-0 lead into the bottom of the 6th, but put 4 on the board to wrap it up in 6 innings with an 8-0 win. Fly ball, left field playable for Benitez, who has it to retire the side.
Hits, 1 error, 1 left
The
on
Dons put a 3 spot on the board. They will head to the 7th. 3 outs separate them from a trip to Bakersfield. You're watching the 3C2A Super Regionals on SoCalCollegeSports.com. 7th inning. Benitez
Now batting number 6. Noah
to be
Watson.
followed by Marquez and then Sanchez as Emily Rosas heads to the circle to try and finish it off and help the Dons on their way to Bakersfield and the championship round. Here is Benitez, who's 1 for 2. Singled and struck out in 2 trips. First pitch just low, 1 ball and no strikes on Benitez. Rosas looking for her 9th consecutive win, and that's 9 wins without even so much as a no decision. Way inside, but it looks like it did not get a piece of Benitez. 2 balls and no strikes.
Luke, what's the first base?
No, now they're going to say Benitez was hit by that pitch. And so Benitez on at first. Well, Benitez not on at first. All right, so Benitez back to the plate with a count of a ball and a strike. Now, I believe it's 2 balls and no strikes. The scoreboard has it at 1-1. I thought the first pitch was called a ball, but we'll go with the scoreboard for the moment. Foul territory. 1 ball, 2 strikes on Nolani Benitez. Try to keep you updated on some of the other scores. They're on to the bottom of the 7th at Cerritos, Santiago Canyon, and Cerritos tied at 3. Butte College in the north has advanced with a 3-2 win. They're on their way to Bakersfield. Benitez swings and misses.
2, Aaliyah Marquez.
Rosas gets the strikeout for Emily Rosas. That is strikeout number 7. 1 down. San Jose, a winner over Consumnes River, also in the north, 4-3. A ball and no strikes on Aaliyah Marquez. Soft liner to short. Ramirez has it, 2 down, and now the Vikings down to their final out. 2 down, and Kirsten Sanchez will be the batter. She's 1 for 3 in the game. A base hit back in the 3rd. Emily Rosas trying to close it out. Ordinarily, I'd be speculating about a player of the series, but I don't know how it couldn't be Emily Rosas with the job she's done in the circle. And oh, by the way, with 4 hits and 3 runs batted in, should say 4 runs batted in at the plate. What a tremendous performance. And there have been others, no question. But this has been spectacular stuff. And the Dons have been outstanding in both rounds. Ground ball to short. The Dons are headed to Bakersfield. A 5-1 win as Rosas goes the route. And the Dons wrap up the Super Regional 2 games to none.
Congratulations to Long Beach City College on a great year.
Santa Ana moves to 37-7 on the season. 9 straight wins for Emily Rosas. She stays perfect in the postseason, 4 straight for the Dons. Long Beach City, the 5 seed, ultimately falls here in the Super Regionals, finishing at 29-13. Congratulations to the Vikings on a tremendous season. But it was a little too much Emily Rosas and the Dons here this weekend in Santa Ana as they wrap it up in 2 straight and make their way to the championships in Bakersfield, which we will have for you here on SoCalCollegeSports.com in conjunction with the Bay Area Online Sports Network. So we look forward to that, and we hope that you will join us there for wall-to-wall coverage of the 3C2A Softball Championship. That'll wrap it up here from Santa Ana College, a 5-1 win for the Dons, and they are on to the championships. For everybody here at SoCalCollegeSports.com, don't forget to go check out baseball. The Santa Ana College Dons in action right now against Palomar as well on SoCalCollegeSports.com. So long, everybody.